talk about Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. This is year 2 with Anthony Richardson. Right now, they're 6-8, and they just lost to the Denver Broncos in weird fashion. I'll get into that game later in the video. When I look at the Indianapolis Colts right now, you have to question Chris Ballard and what is his job long term with the Indianapolis Colts. He is 60-68 as a general manager. Now, for one, I do feel for him. He had to try to go out there and scramble and find a quarterback. A lot of people lose that in translation when they talk about the Indianapolis Colts. That's why they made the decision to go out there and draft Anthony Richardson, a guy that is still a developmental prospect, but they were hoping long term, maybe this kid can be Josh Allen. Maybe he can be Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson. And there's a chance that he can still be in the same realm with those guys, talent wise. But before we get into that conversation, you look at the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback since Andrew Luck. It hasn't been lighting the world on fire. Sam Elger, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was the most accomplished quarterback, and he did the most with the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz. You can add some other names to that list also, but those are just notable names. So it was a tough job. They were hoping that Andrew Luck was going to stick around for at least 5 more years. That was not the case. Andrew Luck, he retired. He's now back with Stanford. I'm happy with the decision that he made, and I'm happy for him. He's fully healthy now because we all know the Indianapolis Colts did zero to go out there and bring in an offensive line to help out that kid at the time. But I look at the Indianapolis Colts right now, and I go back to last season. Anthony Richardson, this hyped up prospect out of Florida. Kid only played 1 season in Florida. He is so raw into the game. He can't read the field that much. He's not a field general just yet. He doesn't have the instincts like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, and that takes time. It's going to take time for him to go out there and learn the game. But when I look at Anthony Richardson, he has some good moments, even dating back to his rookie season. But he got injured. He hurt his shoulder, dealing with a concussion. The shoulder injury is what made him miss majority of last season. But with Gardner Minshew, who had 15 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions, the team was 1 play away from making the NFL playoffs. They were in a basic you win and you're in game against the Houston Texans. Whoever was going to go out there and win that football game, you win the division, you make the NFL playoffs. Unfortunately for the Indianapolis Colts, the running back dropped the football off his fingertips by Gardner Minshew on 4th down. The Houston Texans won that game. They were 1 play away. And we fast forward to this season. You bring in Joe Flacco. You were hoping that, hey, maybe Anthony Richardson can go out there. He could take the next step. But Anthony Richardson was not in your normal situation. He didn't have a normal offseason. He was still recovering from the shoulder injury. His shoulder was still sore. So he didn't go out there and have the same type of reps and the same type of throws that veteran quarterbacks have in the NFL or even just young quarterbacks. So he was still recovering from the shoulder injury. And you look at Anthony Richardson. He doesn't have the instincts yet. He's not ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Watching him is like pulling teeth. It will be some good moments on the field. Then the next play, it makes you want to pull your hair out because he is not ready for this just yet. This is a kid that should still be on the bench. I was in favor of Joe Flacco starting this entire season. You can go back and listen to the videos a month ago, not because he tapped his helmet and he tapped out of a game. The media at the time was trying to say, hey, you can't do that, and you can't, not as a player. You can't go out there and tap out on your helmet when you're the quarterback, especially when you play that position because your offensive linemen, they go out there every single play and they're running for you and they're gunning for you. But when I look at Anthony Richardson, he's still a kid. He doesn't have the same reps that CJ had in college. The same with Bryce Young, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. It's ugly right now. You just hope in the next year or two that he pops off and he can be a great quarterback. The bad thing with that thinking is this. It took years for Josh Allen to go out there and to be a great quarterback in today's NFL. It takes time. Even for when quarterbacks are great in college, it's a learning curve to the NFL. Anthony Richardson in college was a very good player. He wasn't a great player. He was not a transcendent talent at the quarterback position. Very good player. I'm not trying to come on here and say that he sucked at Florida. He was very good. But when we compare him to quarterbacks like Josh Allen in Wyoming, who was phenomenal, making crazy throws, and the same with Lamar Jackson, who's at Louisville. Lamar Jackson won a Heisman Trophy 2016, was runner-up the next season. These kids are already great in college. Anthony Richardson had 1 season to where he looked solid. And he just was limited with his throws. Bunch of slants, post routes. That was it. He's not an explosive runner like Lamar Jackson. He's not going to run to the open field and cause you to miss. He's going to try to run you over. That's why he has dealt with injuries up to this point. Hell, he got injured in the Steelers matchup. He hurt his hip, and Joe Flacco had to come into the game, and that is how they went out there, and that's how they defeated the Steelers. And Joe Flacco right now is a better passer than Anthony Richardson. They're hoping that Shane Steichen can help develop him the same way he did with Justin Herbert and the same way that he did with Jalen Hurts. But even in their situations in college, Justin Herbert played a lot of seasons at Oregon. You look at Jalen Hurts, was at Alabama, wasn't a traditional passer. He's still not the best polished passer to have, but he has more weapons around him. He got to spend his last year in college underneath Lincoln Riley, a quarterback guru at the college level. He already had more seasoning, and guess what else he had? More snaps underneath his belt. They've rushed Anthony Richardson out there, and it doesn't look good. When I speak of the good moments, what he did against the New England Patriots, that was a strong game by him, but it wasn't a perfect game by Anthony Richardson. He still turned the football over in that matchup. Just that last drive, when it mattered the most, he went out there and he performed very well. But on the day, he was 12 of 24. For only 109 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Against the Detroit Lions, he was 11 of 28, 172 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's not doing enough to get you over the hump in these matchups with his arm. The rushing ability is good, but you have to develop that accuracy. You have to develop the instincts in this game. Why are the Kansas City Chiefs damn near unbeatable? Because Patrick Mahomes does every little thing right. When I look at Anthony Richardson, when it's 3rd and 3, he's drifting outside the pocket. He's taking a dumb sack. You're putting your kicker at risk there. You're making the field goal kick longer than it has to be. Just throw the football away. He's still not sliding when he needs to. He's still looking for contact like how he was in the red zone against the New England Patriots. And just like how he was against the Steelers when his hip gave out on him. He has to learn this. And I understand on one end, you throw him out there, you let him play. You can also jack up your quarterback by doing that. And I think the Indianapolis Colts have got this wrong. I'm not the head coach. I'm not Shane Steichen. I trust him. He did great work with Jalen Hurts, great work with Justin Herbert. We'll see what happens. But right now, the Indianapolis Colts, they're not going to advance any further than they are right now until he plays better. And it's more than just Anthony Richardson. The wide receivers, they have to do a better job of catching the football. And I look at A.D. Mitchell. They selected him as a high round pick in this year's draft class coming out of Texas. He has struggled in the NFL. He's struggled with getting open. He's struggled with catching the football. There are some times on film where I'm watching Anthony Richardson and he's throwing straight out dimes to where he looks like he's progressing. Then the next play, he'll do something boneheaded. But when he does throw dimes, they drop the freaking football. And that hurts his completion percentage. I go back to a game against the Houston Texans. They lost that matchup 23-20. He was 10 of 32 in the day, 175 passing yards. They had 6 drops in that one matchup. 6 drops. Not every drop is created equal. I understand that. We're getting hit in the back. We're going to get hit in your ribs. Those are tough catches to come down with. These are just wide open drops across the middle of the field. And they just can't catch them. It's a concentration issue. Michael Pittman Jr., very good wide receiver. I like Josh Downs. Alec Pierce has been disappointing because they selected him out of Cincinnati. They were hoping that he could come in and be a consistent number 2. That hasn't been the case, even with better quarterback play. Not a bad wide receiver, but he's not that top wide receiver that they were looking for. But this wide receiving core, when they can catch the football, they're good. The problem is this. They're inconsistent with their hands. This offensive line, they perform very well. This is still one of the better units to have in the NFL, even though they are dealing with injuries up front. Braden Smith is out for the rest of the season. I hope that everything is okay with him and his family. It was a non-football related injury. Hopefully everything is okay with the Braden Smith family and everything is okay with him. But you look at Bernard Raymond, Quinn Nelson, Ryan Kelly has missed time. He's on IR. When they're fully healthy, this is a very good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor. This is where I want to get into the Denver Broncos game. The Broncos game was such a gut punch. They had the game. They had the momentum. They run the football with Jonathan Taylor. He releases the football right until he goes into the scoring range. So right until he crosses the plane, he releases the ball just a couple of centimeters away. And it's a touchback. You get the Denver Broncos the ball back. And the Denver Broncos were struggling this entire game to score against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are playing their butts off this entire game, offensively and defensively. And that's a tough defense for anyone to go against, especially for a young quarterback in his second year with Anthony Richardson. But Jonathan Taylor is a veteran. He said, you'll never see it happen again. I know you won't see it happen again. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. You learn from other players. We've seen so many players in the past drop the football right before they get into the scoring range. Just cross the plane, and then you can celebrate. Players now are too worried about celebrating and going out there and getting in front of the camera. Score the ball first, then you can celebrate. That's a rare miscue by Jonathan Taylor, but it happened, and it helped cost them the game. They had momentum up until that point, and the offense was sluggish all day. That one play forced Shane Steichen to go out there and switch things up. They went with a trick play, a double pass. Nick Bonito reads it. It goes for a pick six. That's ball game right there. Because they can't score on a defense like the Denver Broncos consistently because your quarterback is not ready for that pressure just yet. That's why you have veterans on your team so they don't make dumb mistakes like that. And I understand it happens. Penalties are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. But you have to cross the plane. And Jonathan Taylor hurt them yesterday. Shane Steichen with the play calls, he hurt them yesterday. He put them behind the 8 ball. That is what happened. You know who else has basically cost them all this season? Gus Bradley. I rarely hear about Gus Bradley. How do you have a defense that has DeForest Buckner? And I understand that he's missed time this season, but he's been healthy over the last few weeks. You have DeForest Buckner. You have Kwity Paye, Grover Stewart, E.J. Speed, Zaire Franklin. Very good linebackers, very good defensive linemen, and you're 31st in rushing defense. It's not the players. It's not even close to being the players. It's the lack of adjustments by him. He's not a good defensive coordinator, and it's time to move on. Because when I look at Zaire Franklin, he's not the best coverage linebacker. I wouldn't say he's a top 5 coverage linebacker, but 80 solo tackles. That's tied 5th in the NFL. 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. E.J. Speed, very good tackler. 87 tackles on the season, 1 interception. They're able to go out there, bring the running back down. But the running back is always in the 2nd to 3rd level. They don't have any shifts up front. They don't move guys around. This rushing defense should not be this bad when you have power punchers up front like Kwity Paye and DeForest Buckner. And I know they really do. They miss Samson Ebukam, who had 9.5 sacks last season, 3 forced fumbles. He got injured before the season even started. But you have Latu, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. You still have very good players in your front 7. Now, the back end of this defense, I understand. Juju Brents has been out majority of this season. Juju Brents has been in and out of the lineup. He's a very good player. He missed majority of last season dealing with an injury. Very good young player. He's only 24 years old. I hope that he can be healthier for the rest of his career. We will see. But he's a solid cover corner to have. The defensive names, they aren't bad on this roster. The defensive players aren't bad. They're not this bad. It's the defensive play calls that are holding them back. I'm not going to come in here and say fire Shane Steichen, fire Chris Ballard, because this was a tough situation when you have to switch quarterbacks year in and year out from Carson Wentz, from Phillip Rivers, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Elder, Matt Ryan. I understand where you're coming from. That's why they drafted this kid highly. They wanted a guy that could go out there and break the cycle. Unfortunately, right now, it's not happening. And as I record this video, it is 6:55, December 16th, a.m., because I know some of you guys will try to come back and say, well, look at Anthony Richardson now. He's balling out. As I record this video, 6:55 in the morning, it's not looking good. You can really say this is his first season starting in the NFL, but he got the start last season. He didn't even finish all of the games this year because of injuries and the fact that they were concerned about his development. They should have left him on the bench for a couple more games of seasoning, or even at best, you put Anthony Richardson on the bench, finish off the 2nd year. You hope that he could play in the 3rd year. We have become very nasty with the way that we grade quarterbacks in the NFL, from the media, from the coaches. It's more than just the media. Coaches now throw them out there. I remember as a kid, you let a quarterback sit for a year or even 2 in some cases. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. They let him sit for a year. He only played 1 game his rookie season. That was the last game. You used to let quarterbacks sit. And then you should see what you have. And they still struggled. Hey, that's okay. But now, because quarterbacks are getting paid so much and the fifth year option is so insane for first round picks, general managers, coaches, they want to know. But not every quarterback is going to look like CJ year one. Not every quarterback is going to be able to go out there and look like Jaden Daniels. And those are quarterbacks that are generational talents. It takes time. And I hope that Anthony Richardson one day can be a star quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. I remember as a kid when they had Peyton Manning, and the Indianapolis Colts are always a constant contender in the AFC. And what is so damning about this, if you are a veteran, if you put yourself in a veteran's shoes, like a Jonathan Taylor, like a DeForest Buckner, they're ready to win a Super Bowl now. But we have to wait on this kid to develop maturely so he doesn't tap out of a game. We have to wait on him to develop those instincts. That's hard to do because as the seasons go on, you get older and your contract's about to run out. And right as he gets good, you may be on the back end of your career and you can't contribute the same. And you know what general managers and owners are going to do? They're going to move on from you because that's a part of the business. They hope that guys can come in and help speed up his development. If the Indianapolis Colts want to start him next season, and more than likely they will, go out there and trade for a star wide receiver and help speed up this clock. Do what the Buffalo Bills did with Stephon Diggs. Go out there, get him another true number one wide receiver. I like Michael Pittman Jr. a lot. Get him a true game changer alongside Michael Pittman Jr., which is easier said than done. I understand that. Go out there, talk to T. Higgins, do whatever you have to do to see what you really have in this kid, because the offensive line is there. The run game is there. Even though Jonathan Taylor had that bad moment, he is still a top running back to have in the NFL. You go out there, you find another wide receiving option that can help develop this kid to the next level. You throw all those pieces at the wall. If it doesn't work out, then you know, hey, this kid's not working out. But even with the Justin Herbert situation, the kid was drafted to the Los Angeles Chargers. Keenan Allen was a top wide receiver in the NFL. He had a guy right there waiting on him. And I'm not trying to disrespect Michael Pittman Jr., but Michael Pittman Jr., very good in separation, can go out there and be a very good 50-50 ball wide receiver. They need more consistency alongside him. And if you have a guy like T. Higgins, he could come in. You could say they're similar players. T. Higgins has more juice to his game. And if you don't even want to go out there and talk to T. Higgins, just talk to another wide receiver that can go out there and be able to separate and catch the football on a consistent basis. But there's still something here with Anthony Richardson. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not going to throw in the white flag after just year two. If you want to, you can. But I just want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. How do you feel about Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts? I feel for Indianapolis Colts fans because this is rough. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.